So there was a lot of action in America yesterday and last night regarding the ongoing Black Lives Matter and Antifa riots. Of course, the Antifa thing is more of a West Coast kind of, very white urban sort of phenomenon. In the rest of the country, it's just plain old Black Lives Matter with a mix of, black and white people who are mostly focused on, racism and stuff and aren't really I mean, if you ask them, I'm sure that the organizers and things would admit that they are overt communists, as the leaders of the, the more organized Black Lives Matter group have said. But, your average person on the ground is, they're they're not these big ideologues like you see in Portland. These are more just dumb people going along with the mob who say, well, of course I don't like racism, so I'm going to burn down this building with people because I'm fighting racism. Rochester seems to be a new hotspot of this sort of behavior. Of course, we got that video a couple days ago of them going up to a restaurant and just flipping over people's tables and saying, "Why are you running away? Why are you running away?" It's kind of like, if somebody grabs your hand and slaps you and goes, "What? Stop hitting yourself! Stop hitting yourself!" I mean, it was very. I don't want to call it juvenile because it's very serious, but I mean, it's very overt bullying of these people. And of course, they are destroying property too, because if you paid for your dinner at that restaurant and your table got flipped over, you lose your dinner. Although I guess these people hadn't paid, so if they're running away, they don't have to pay for their food. So it's only really a loss for the restaurant, I guess, in that case, although these people lost their time. So they did lose something. And it's also quite scary to have a bunch of people, coming up and screaming at you about how, you're such a bad person, when they've never met you. You almost might call it racist. But of course, I'm a good Gen Zer. I grew up in an era where the media taught me that only white people can be racist, so that's okay. Even though white people are doing this too, but the white people who are on the sides of the BLM people, if they're a part of the mob, then they're okay. So it's still an in-group, out-group preference. Although it's not overtly racial. Like, for example, there was a video, I think also out of Rochester, that I saw, and this is just stuff all over Twitter, so unfortunately I can't really link to a good spot that just has everything. I guess you could look up Kitty Shackelford on Twitter. Got a lot of videos from them. Of course, Andy Ngo. I don't think I checked Eliza Schaefer today, but there was one video that old Kitty had up, and it was pretty interesting. There was a black man sitting on his stoop in front of his house, and the mob was yelling at him, saying, "Hey, what are you doing up there? You got to get down here. You got to riot with us, or else you don't care about racism." And I believe this. There were a lot of white people in the group, and there were a couple white people yelling at him about how he was not a real black person. And saying that being a black person is more about it's more of a state of mind than it is a state of your skin color. And he said, hey, I'm pretty white, but I'm still black because I'm out here. So that's really what blackness apparently means, according to the BLM people. It's that you agree with their politics. So this black guy who was sitting up on his stoop with his cat, not wanting to go out and riot, was less black than the white people who are a part of the mob. And this would be one thing if they were consistent in their logic, but they're not. It's not like everyone now is just all of a sudden deciding that, the word black refers to a state of mind or a political belief, but they use it when it's convenient. So most of the time they'll say black people are black people and white people are white people, but when there are conflicts in politics, they pull the, Colin Powell isn't black card. And so it's just a dishonest way of making it so that, they always win. Also, another video of where the black man was filming some rioters set a U-Haul truck on fire, and he was just commenting about how dumb they are. I guess he's not a real black person either. I guess Michael Reinowel or however the hell you say his name. I should just look it up as much as I've been having to talk about the guy. I guess he's more black than all these black people who are not rioting. And if you think about how many people in this country are not rioting and don't support riots, there aren't very many black people in America. I would think it's even less than 13% of the country, if only the rioters are the real black people. But anyway, something we're seeing across all these cities now, various different places, is that going up to people at dinner and flipping over their tables, that's acceptable. We went very quickly from we're going to shout at you while you're eating outside to we're going to come and just flip over your tables, not even try and get you to comply. It went through, hey, we're going to march through the business district and smash up small businesses, to we're going to, march through your neighborhoods and yell at you, you have to get out. And now it's very now not only are they yelling at people, they have to come out, but they're yelling at people, like specific people, walking up to specific houses. There was a video I saw where was this one? Maybe Rochester too. Most of the videos I saw were Rochester, of a guy standing on his porch, and he had the Black Lives Matter flag in his window. He was trying to show support. And the Black Lives Matter activist, who was an actual black person, so just to clarify, this wasn't one of the white Antifa people, he was saying, congratulations, buddy. You have a Black Lives Matter sign in your window. So does everyone in America after buildings started getting set on fire. So it's not good enough anymore. Basically saying that, yeah, we understand that everyone says they support us now because they don't want their house to be burned down. But we know that people are just doing it for that. So you need to do more to prove that you support us than just saying you support us. You need to actively come out and join our movement. You need to come out and burn down the buildings of people who do not comply. You need to come and talk to your racist family members, because we know your family is racist, this guy said, and convince them that, about what the true light of God is. It's kind of like what Libertarian Party candidate Joe Jorgensen once said. It's not enough to be simply not racist. You must be actively anti-racist. Which is a good example of why I will never vote for her, and probably any Libertarian Party nominee, because this is who they keep nominating, are these kinds of people. The Libertarian Party is a tremendous disgrace to this country. But that's a tangent that I should not get into, because the Libertarian Party is irrelevant, as they should be. Now, I guess in Vancouver, Washington, which I guess might be the hometown of this Aaron Danielson guy, although I heard he was from Portland, so I'm not quite sure, but they held a memorial service for old Aaron J. Danielson, and it seemed to go pretty well. There were people giving speeches, folks who knew him and things like that. I guess he was well known amongst the Patriot Prayer folks. There was a city councilwoman from some place talking about, when she had met him and things like that, and I guess, went okay. They had their thing in a park. It wasn't in Portland itself, so I would assume things would be a little bit easier. But apparently afterwards there was a Proud Boy who was severely injured and is in critical condition as a result of a brush up with an Antifa guy. Now, at first I was skeptical of this, because the only people reporting it were the Gateway Pundit, who I'm not particularly fond of. I've never been a big fan of Jim Hoft, or his publication. And there wasn't, video of the actual incident, just of the guy, laying on the ground and obviously injured. And so, they said, oh, Antifa hit him with their car after he left the place. I said, well, it could have been anybody. Was kind of my initial thoughts. But after hearing, all of the witness statements, I do think that, Gateway Pundit seems to have done a good job here. Just because they're the only ones reporting it doesn't necessarily mean it didn't happen. I guess they probably had someone there, because they do have a lot of, good witness testimony. And apparently what happened is some Antifa guy was, walking around this bar trying to take pictures of the Proud Boys to dox them later. And so the bar owner asked him to leave because he was bothering the patrons. Not the patrons, the patrons. And so he went to leave, and I guess this Proud Boy who ended up getting hit decided to take some pictures of him while he was leaving, because I think he was still taking pictures of people in the parking lot, probably license plates, I'd imagine. And so he decided to, take a picture of him and his car as he was leaving, and, that made him mad, and he just kind of hit him. That's what we're hearing. And, the police seem to be buying into this story, because they have already arrested the guy using the pictures, apparently, that this guy Shane took, who is now in critical condition. Sounded pretty bad. He got hit by the car and, rolled over and landed on his head. So I feel really bad for him. That's not something you want to happen. Head injuries are not cool. Just like when I saw that guy get kicked in the head in Portland by that one Antifa guy, Keith Love. You know, I don't like to see that. I don't like to see people incur injuries that they may not come back from entirely. But I guess I could at least say, I'm glad he's alive, so that we don't have another, another body count, because it does seem like, the bodies are starting to stack up. And it's just, when I see people getting seriously injured over all this stuff, I mean, it's kind of fun to watch, over the last couple of years. I remember back when the Proud Boys used to go to Berkeley and stuff like that and get into fights and things, with the Antifa folks who just, wanted so bad to beat up some Proud Boys, and they just always got their butts whooped. But, when people start getting seriously injured and start dying, it's not fun anymore. Because really what these people are so angry at each other over are pretty dumb issues. I mean, if you look at a lot of these, the BLM folks, they're not serious people. They're not the kinds of folks who have ideas that anyone would at all consider if they were not using violence to try and promote their ideas. I mean, they were having some demonstration, probably violent, in front of the Rochester police. I don't know if it was the headquarters or just one of the precincts in Rochester. But some of the black organizers of the group were referring to their white shields need to form a circle, which I assume that means that all the white people need to stand on the outside and guard the black people from whatever attacks. I mean, that's just such a creepy and disgusting term, white shields. And to think that in 2020, we're going back to such overtly, racial ways of thinking, it just seems so primitive. I have no interest in conversing with these people. I don't think that they are deserved of being heard. I have nothing but contempt for these people who go and they shout at folks that it's not enough to to put our stupid sign in your window. You need to come out and riot with us. Or hey, white folks, you need to form a shield. You need to do exactly as you're told. You need to follow the correct ideology, or else you're a racist. These are not folks that you should reason with. These are not folks you should compromise with. These are folks who should be ostracized from our society fully. BLM is a cancer which must be excised. The way I'm seeing the consistency in this movement from city to city, the way that once you saw them, for example, in D.C. shouting at people at their tables, then a few days later we got in Rochester them flipping the tables over, then them doing it again in Dallas, and shouting at people at their homes, climbing on people's roofs. This shows me that these things are not isolated incidents. It's not just, a couple people getting out of control. No, these groups are inherently violent, and they believe gross things that should not have any place in our society. They're not people to be tolerated. And so anyone who in any way bends the knee or even overtly supports these folks should be subject, to the same derision. No one, in my opinion, has an excuse for supporting BLM at this point and just saying, "Oh, well, I just think people shouldn't be racist," because we're obviously well beyond that. If you can't see that, either you're uninformed, which is fine. Most people aren't very well informed, in which case you show them the evidence and they should be convinced. But if they still say no, I want to put this flag in my window because I don't like racism, and anyone who questions the mob is a racist, well then there's not much you can say to that person. I mean, people like that you just shouldn't have in your life, because there's nothing stopping them from doing some horrible things to you if they think that it's okay for people to be treated this way in the streets. People who these folks have never met, okay? When they're walking through neighborhoods and they're just shouting at folks, you need to get out of your house, you're terrible racists, you're evil, ooh, lets the mob hiss at you, let's flip your dinner table over. These folks they don't know each other. They've never met any of these people. They have a built-in prejudice, an inherent hatred for these folks. This is not a matter of political differences anymore. It's just a matter of basic human decency. So that's about all I have to say about the events of this past Saturday. If you gained anything of value out of this video, I'd appreciate you clicking that like button and sharing this video. And if you haven't already, please do subscribe, because I do upload every day and I'd hate to have you miss one. So I'll see you folks back here tomorrow.